Welcome to Section 31, episode number 260. I'm Dan Hammond.
And I'm Rogue Schindler.
And this week we happen to be joined by someone who actually went to the tournament that was this weekend that neither of us went to. Charlie, welcome to Section 31 again.
Happy to be back. Definitely have to be your most frequent guest at this point.
So. Yeah, probably so. Anyway, I was going to make a comment, but I won't. So we had a second edition tournament. I think we talked about it last week, and that neither Rogue and I could go. It was opening day of Little League Baseball for me, and Rogue was dressing up in Star Wars costumes and walking around Legoland. Is that right?
That is right.
All right. So neither of us could go, but evidence indicates that there was a tournament, although it was not a second edition tournament. Yes?
Indeed. We played first edition sealed deck.
Was that just because it was easier for people to show up if they didn't have to, plan ahead?
Well, so that was the origin of why we didn't play. There was 3 people signed up early in the week, and so I sent out a call saying, hey, we need 4, we can't run the tournament, and then 4 people were signed up. And then on Thursday, one of those people unregistered for the tournament, so we were back down to 3, and I sent out another call saying, is there a 4th out there? And nobody answered, and I knew you were busy, and I knew Rogue was busy, and JD is currently on a boat somewhere. So we said, all right, I guess we'll cancel and try again in 2 weeks. And then Thomas TV emailed and said, hey, I'm available, but I haven't had time to build a deck, so that's why I didn't register for the tournament. What about that sealed thing Johnny's been talking several months ago, getting together on like a random weeknight and doing a little quick sealed deck where we all bring and then he brings in some packs that he'd bought. Hills, the main distributor that still has Star Trek, had a really good Black Friday sale this year, and so he bought a bunch of booster boxes. And he said, hey, throw in $5. Everybody brings their OTSD 20. We open or draft some packs. We play a couple rounds, and everybody gets a foil out of my trade binder. We were like, cool, but we had trouble scheduling it where we could get 4 people during the week. So then Thomas was like, hey, I don't have time for a 2E deck, but if you guys are free, we can still get together and do that 1E thing. So that's what we did. And Thomas was very kind and paid for everybody because he felt bad that we didn't run the sanctioned tournament. But it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. So
I'm so sorry. What was the predominant deck, do you think?
Well, so what we drafted was we decided to draft because it's just generally more fun. We did 3 packs of Premier, 1 pack of Reflections, and then 2 packs of Mirror. To sort of make it all work, we had 2 house rules. House rule number 1 was sort of like a permanent crossover, so that you ignored the Mirror Quadrant icon when seeding or reporting a card, so that the Mirror Quadrant facilities could be seated in the Alpha Quadrant, and you could play the Mirror Quadrant people in the Alpha Quadrant. And then we sort of had another rule, which was if you used the triple treaty, it was essentially everybody treaty.
Oh, okay.
So if you chose to go into the triple treaty, you could use the cards from Reflections that weren't the Romulan Klingon fed non-aligned. Apparently that was the way to go because Johnny was the only one who did that. And Johnny won the tournament because none of us in the Reflections pack were taking those off-color people, so they were all just we were just feeding Johnny really good off-color people. So he was playing, random Jemadar and random, he had Bajorans in his deck, and he took, it was pretty fantastic. When we were doing one of the Mirror packs, there was a pack that had 2 historical researches going around. The 40-point 2 Arco, 2 Anthro mission. So he ended up with them, or at least one of them, and he from that point on drafted Anthro and Arco, and so his strategy was basically 30-30-40, realizing that he was boned if somebody could steal it. But those are somewhat hard skills to pull together out of Premiere and Reflections predominantly. So yeah, he went triple treaty and he won. It was close. My game with him was close. He beat me because he drew his Q net in his opening hand or early, and so I had an outpost. If you're a friend with me on Facebook, you can see the picture. I had an outpost at my second to last mission, and then the last mission on the space line. So I took my ship over there and attempted, and I got damaged, and then he Q-netted me, so that I couldn't move back to get more people until I was able to get true diplomacy there. And so that ship just stuck there. And then I finally drew what I needed to get through the Q-net, but Johnny won because he had like 80 people, and I really thought that he was bluffing with historical research. So I put a trashy combo under it. No, and then he walked over with. I mean, the best pull I got out of mirror packs, well, arguably, but I took a Chula the game because that's fairly hard to get through. Even in constructed, that's fairly hard to get through. But he drafted a Baran, so he had played enough people that he had Bran. So greed and cunning 8, so he walked through the Chula. Because the 2 turns I would have gotten out of the Chula would have let me win the game. But it was interesting, the draft, because Matt did Klingon Romulan. I did. I definitely wanted to be in Fed because the majority of the cards out of Mirror are going to be Fed. And then I figured I'd go into either Klingon or Romulan depending on what I get, and I was just getting better Klingons early. Had I remembered that Mirror had the TOS Romulans in it, I may have gone Romulan and then either gone into Fed or Klingon, because I just saw some TOS Romulans just getting paxed around. It was fun. I went 0-3, but Matt pretty much destroyed me. He blew up a ship and stole 2 of my missions, and I was just like, you know what, I'm done. So that sucked. But then I was hanging in there against Thomas, and hanging in. Thomas is insane. He was going to solve his mission for 95 points. But
what?
He was going to solve. He had 60, and he was solving a 35-point mission, which would have put him at 95. I was going to win on my next turn. It was it was my universal mission that he chose to go over and do. Sorry, maybe he was at 65 and this was a 30-point mission. Yeah, 65 and this was a 30-point mission. It was the universal mission in the OTSD that has the non-aligned icon on it. It's diplomacy, leadership, and integrity 32 or something. He had seeded Royale Casino slots under it. So what he did is this was insane. This was incredible. He flew over. He beamed his crew down. He left Soren on his ship, and then picked it up with Space-Time Portal because she was the only personnel in play or in his hand that had 2 attribute numbers that matched. So he picked up his ship with that, went through the mission, showed her for the slots to get 5 points, and then solved the mission. So that put him at exactly 100. And I'm just like,
wow.
I got nothing. I got nothing. That's genius. The move that I was most proud of is I ended up with, I'm not going to remember the name of the mission, diplomatic something. It's diplomacy empathy. It's a Fed mission for 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, you're not going to solve that because there's like so little empathy in those sets. But and I didn't have a single empathy in the deck. The only way into that mission for me was reflection therapy. But I solved it in all 3 games. Because everybody threw weak ass, like Matt threw misseeds under it. Thomas threw 1 dilemma, and it was Android Nightmares. And Johnny threw something under there. but I got through it. So I was able to solve that mission in all 3 of my games with absolutely no empathy in my deck. So that was my highlight.
Nice.
The cool trick that I tried was I drafted a Tantalus Field and Regency 1. So my goal was to get Tantalus Field on Regency 1, and then I went with like a 38 card deck instead of the 30, so I could kill your key people. Never actually managed to do that because Regency 1, as it turns out, is really hard to staff when you only have one KCA guy in your deck. And I only ended up with 1 mirror ship. I never got another mirror ship. Never came to me. Like nobody passed me a Constitution or a Rebel Interceptor or anything. I gained a new appreciation for a card I'd never used, which is Transporter. What is it? Transporter.
Armbands?
No, the Transporter Swap Universe card.
Oh, Transporter Mix-Up.
Transporter Mix-Up. Because it lets you swap universals from one side with universals from the other.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would solve my mission with, I had 4 universal mirror guys. So I'd beam down and solve my mission, and then I'd beam up the 4 Alpha Quadrant guys and swap them for the 4 mirror guys that let me. They were A, better people, and B, that gave me my KCA Klingon in play. So once I played Regency 1, I could auto staff it. It was basically downloading in a format with a very little amount of downloading, which was kind of cool. I did it. It was a neat trick, and I kind of like that card now. So I may have to try something with that. But it was fun. It was a good low stress day. It was cool.
Well, I'm glad you guys were able to play, even with him. Even with was it just 4 people, correct? You,
It was
Matt,
just 4 people.
and,
It was just
Johnny and
it was
Thomas.
Matt, Johnny, Thomas, and myself.
Yeah.
Johnny won, Matt had second, Thomas had third, and I came in last. But it's definitely something we want to do again, and we thought it would extend well to multiple people. It's like even if you and Rogue were able to join us, or Rogue and JD, or whoever, or Jim, one of the new guys, you come out and do it. It's we talked a little bit after the tournament about what would you change, and ultimately I don't think you needed to change much. I think you could make a few tweaks. We kind of all felt like there weren't enough dilemmas. There was talk about adding a sheet of like starter level dilemmas from the S9 block. The idea I had was that you just bring a stack of those starter level dilemmas, and if at any point you draft a banned card, you instead get to take the top dilemma of that pile. So it's just a face down pile of dilemmas, and then whenever you end up with a banned card, you can take a dilemma. So that you might choose to pick Scan out of a pack of crap because you get a dilemma out of it. So, but as is, it was fun, and we could play it as is again and have a really good time.
And Mirror is one of the cheaper sets to pick up right now, right?
Yeah, it's not terribly expensive. It's just, fortunately, it's a little warped, but it's it's a fairly fun set.
Yeah, I ended up using a few of the Mirror cards from the big box that was sent to us to make promos, and I got a note that, hey, these promos are kind of bent a little bit. Was it something in shipping, or did you use Mirror cards for these? And it turned out that I did in fact use Mirror cards to make those.
Well,
so.
I mean, it almost seemed like they got worse with time. It's not a great comparison, but that's fairly bent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a random mirror dagger, but compared to a normal card, it's fairly bowed. I don't know if it just bowed more with age, or they were stored in the really hot part of the warehouse, or what. But I mean, it's not horrific. You throw every card in sleeves and you can't tell. But
right on. All right. What do we got on the schedule for 2 weeks? Is that right?
In 2 weeks, we have a 1E tournament tentatively scheduled, but we're kind of entering the time period out here where everybody's super busy. So there's some question on whether we'll be playing then. We'll be checking in with everybody, but tentatively 1E constructed in 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can. I know we've got 3 that are willing to go. That's also the weekend that the next Magic set comes out. So
The set with all the
Matt's
dragons.
the set with all the dragons. So Matt was talking about going to do that instead of playing Trek. So we might only have 3 people. So we'll see.
All right, and that's just 1E OTF constructed.
I've already started working on my deck. So
Yeah. Well, we're less than 2 weeks out, so you better have already started working on your 1E deck. All right. Shall we switch gears and talk about second edition for a moment?
Yes. We actually have.
Wow, we've been sent a spoiler. I actually have a quasi-graphical version of this that I can put up. I'll put it in the stream here. Rogue, you want to go ahead and read?
Sure. This is a mission, and it has that new-fangled, weird mission title, which is the location rather than the actual name of the mission you're going on, what you're trying to accomplish, which means it's probably going to coincide with some other existing mission that is at the same location. At any rate, it's called Lauren 3, which is the location, the unique location, and the actual mission is subtitle is Combined Discovery. It is a planet mission, Alpha Quadrant, 35 points, so pretty standard so far, and requires archaeology, astrometrics, diplomacy, officer, and conning greater than 34.
Yeah. It's got some interesting game text, though. While you command an archaeology commander aboard his or her corresponding ship, you may play an archaeology commander of an affiliation you do not command aboard. So, if I've got a matching commander on board my ship, and that commander happens to have archaeology at this... No, not necessarily at this mission, just anywhere. I can play any other archaeology personnel who happens to be a matching commander aboard to that ship.
as long as they're a different color.
As long as they're a different color. Or as long as they're a color
yes.
you don't have out already.
Correct.
All right. So this is from the Chase, right?
Yeah, right.
All right. The attemptability, the affiliation icons here: Cardassian, Federation, Klingon, Romulan. Makes sense. Of all the affiliations that were running around. Span 2. And what we've got now is 33V28.
But that is, of course, as always,
Subject to change.
Well, I'll tell you what. If this one changes, we're in trouble. So I think you're safe on this one. But.
Fair enough.
And there is just enough room for some lore between the game text and the affiliation icons. And it is just a quote from the episode that says, "Do you have an organic sample from the planet below?" So clearly getting into the portion of the episode where they all start working together and pooling their resources to try and track down this mystery. So
Rogue, you got a guess on how many... I did a quick search in the card engine. How many commanders there are with archaeology?
Well, I'm assuming there's got to be at least 4, since we have the 4 from the episode.
Yeah.
And then so Picard and Nudak and Osset and the guy on the Revaran.
Galithon
Yeah, Galithon.
on the Tralala.
Oh, he's on the Tralalok.
Yeah.
Tralalok.
So
I think the Revaran guys. I think there was at least another Romulan. There's got to be a couple of Fed guys, probably.
yeah,
Maybe.
the Lal and the Varn. That's right. So there's a couple of Romulans. There's Tarsus, the Hakona.
Oh, that's right. Tarsus.
Nador,
Moran.
the Cardassian, to go with Osset.
Oh yeah, the AU guy.
Yeah.
With the fuel tank.
So let's see. Our Bran, as you mentioned, is non-aligned. Galen and Fajo. all match. There are a bunch of Federation guys. I mean, you probably. Well,
Yeah.
I guess if you were using Galen as your non-aligned, you could go with a random Federation guy.
Benjamin
There's a
Maxwell.
delusional captain of the Exeter, Ronald Tracy.
Oh, right, the TOS guy.
Yeah. A couple of Picards, Benjamin Maxwell, yeah, and Chakotay, Freedom Fighter. I don't know how useful he'd be. While this personnel is facing dilemma, each of your other marquee personnel present attributes +1.
Well, that's still. I'm still only counting 5 colors there. The 4 that are on the mission and non-aligned. Is there anything else that's pulling in?
There's
You
2
Bajoran
more.
or
There's I see Krem, an unidentified pirate.
Oh. The Ferengi.
Yeah. And Maximilian Forrest, confident captain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
right.
6, 7, 8 skills on a 4-cost guy.
Oh man, he's super tank, even without his game text.
Yeah, I know you probably won't be able to doing his no cards in hand thing unless this was, if you're playing this in a Starfleet deck, and you went with a bunch of other, AU Starfleet stuff.
Sure.
And just play the captains to it as you drew them, then.
There's an interesting trick you can do with this. You can get a science commander in play aboard a ship and give them the pad that gives them archaeology. So they then become archaeology commander. So if you do it that way, you get Dominion too. There's a Dominion guy who's a science commander. So if you're playing Dominion, you can start with him, give him a pad, and then bring in all the other.
Gelman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think you can get to 7 or 8 different colors if you do that. If you really want to leap through that trick.
And there's
you
a
can,
way
you
in
can
too. All right. That's just weird. All right, I like it. Well, I mean, if you're gonna get you're gonna be trying that mission that needed archaeology, might as well throw it in there. Turn more. On the other hand, if you're doing this, you're gonna have a ton of archaeology because you're playing with all the weird, a handful of 5 or 6 commanders anyway.
But you do this and historical research as your planets, and then historical research lets you go get your first commander. If you go second, and then.
Yeah. Okay.
Because 2 Anthro, 2 Arco for this deck should never ever be a problem. So. The interesting thing about this mission is the set Project Donna, which has a name, by the way, and I'll give you a clue. The name is from the back half of Season 7 of Deep Space Nine. The name of the expansion, which is appropriate because it's Dominion and DS9. The expansion has a bit of a multiple affiliation theme to it, mostly stemming from Deep Space Nine, because that's kind of Deep Space Nine, Mouth of the Wormholes, bread and butter. Is, hey, look, we're all multicultural working together. But this card came about from a desire to, we should let some other people have some fun with the multicultural theme. So there's this card, and there's another card from the chase that lets any deck really get in on some of the multi-affiliation fun. So, and in a way, this, caring about multiple affiliations kind of softly promotes dual headquarters. There's a lot of anti-dual headquarters cards in the game, but there are some cards in this expansion that give you a reason to want to have multiple affiliations in your deck, which kind of softly encourages, because we don't want to never. If we didn't want you to play dual headquarters, we'd just make that a rule. You can't have dual headquarters. But it's if you played TUI when the game came out, you just played dual headquarters because there was no reason not to, because it's so good. And so over the course of 30 expansions, that had to have been beat down a little bit, but it should still be viable at least at a local level, at a non-ultra competitive level. So.
All right, so I'm looking at the second half of season 7, and there's 25 episode titles. So the last 12 or so, did you really call the set strange bedfellows? Because that's funny.
That's my first guess.
I mean, I'm
Well,
looking at the
you-
other ones. What you leave behind, extreme measures, tacking into the wind. I've already used a lot of these. This
There's
is
a lot of these
well
already set up, yeah.
You will have to wait and see. But
Nah, my money is on Inter Arma NM Sealed de Legas.
IAESL.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
remember what set it was, but that was a serious contender for a title. It might have been Raise the Stakes. There was a set that we were like, that was the choice until somebody came up with the title that we ended up using. Yeah.
Although I would love to have a set called Bada Bing Bada Bang.
It's the gambling set, man. Anti-cards, all sorts of shenanigans.
I'll play Sabek.
Play Sabec, do some Casino Royale.
All right. Very good. All right, so I think we covered everything on the card. Lauren was the guy that used to get his card, so that's every time I see that now, I'm going to be thinking about that. All right, brilliant. Anything else we want to cover this evening? We've got a card party to put together promos this weekend, so you should see regional kits going up by the end of the weekend, I think. Plus, if anything happens to be out, I just put a bunch of new kits up in the promenade. If anything happens to be out, we should be refilling those as well. So if you're looking to place a requisition, look again probably Sunday or Monday at the latest. All right?
Sounds good. I think that's about it for intelligence this week, and those of us who will be available should start working on 1E decks for 2 weeks from now. In the meantime, I am Sir Rogue.
And I'm Sir Dan.
And a shout out to Chairman Charlie for joining us. Thanks again. And I'll remind everybody to expand their power in the universe.
All right. Good night.